Torah, Reb Nachman.
Amen.
This is mamish the beginning of the whole journey of the magnum opus of Rabbeinu. And we'll have to see that every single thing that Rabbeinu is saying in this Torah means that this is the kernel, this is the essential essence of all of Likutei Moharan, which is the essential essence of all of Torah's Breslov. Let's begin. Ashrei Semimei Derech, that Ashrei, praiseworthy, Torah Aleph, praiseworthy are those that go Semimei Derech, that go on a pure and simple path, Haholchim b'Torahs Hashem, and they walk in the Torah of Hashem. And the end of the Maimer, the end of the Torah, Reb Nachman is going to come back to this pasuk, a pasuk from David HaMelech, from King David. Praiseworthy are those that go Temimei Darech. We'll see that Yaakov is associated with Tam, Yaakov Ish Tam, Yoshev Oyholim, Haholchim b'Torahs Hashem, that they go in the Torah of Hashem. It looks like King David is saying that you could go not in the Torah of Hashem. There's a way to go in this world, but it's not in the Torah of Hashem. There's a way to go in this world that's b'Torahs Hashem. And it's good if you go in the way of Torahs Hashem. It'll work out well for you. And you can trust King David. If anybody understood life, it was King David. And thousands of years later, Klal Yisrael is holding on to his Tehillim. The whole world, all of humanity, loves the Psalms of David. Because all of humanity knows that this is someone who gets it. And all the Kabbalah and everything that's inside of Tehillim. So Reb Nachman is going to come back to this pasuk. Da, you should know. Like we said, Da means he's bringing down the Torah from Atzilus. Da means open up your heart. Das, like Rav Rasman was saying yesterday, is the Beis HaMikdash, is the neck, is that place that connects heaven and earth. The windpipe and the esophagus is the interface between that which is coming in to me like food and that which is coming out of me, divrei Torah, speech. The neck has both of that, is the interface. So da. Ki al yidei Torah, you should know that through learning Torah, by shtaging, being oisik in Torah, niskablim kol tefillas, all of your tefillas will be accepted. Through learning Torah, all of your tefillas will be accepted, which means sometimes your tefillas don't feel like they're being accepted. Tefillas here refers to the tefillas that Chazal made in the Siddur. V'kol ha'bakoshos, and all of your bakoshos, simple pshat, all of your bakoshos mean the simple tefillas that a yid just cries out from his heart and says, Hashem, help me. They will be accepted. So both the tefillas, which is from the Siddur, and the bakoshas, just that which comes out from your heart spontaneously. Another pshat in tefillas and bakoshas is that tefillas is the part of tefillah where I'm giving praise to Hashem, like coming in front of a king and showing honor and praise to the king. And bakoshas is when you actually then ask the king for things. So number one, when you come in front of the king, he'll accept that you're coming from the right place in your praise, in your compliments. Sometimes you have a person, you get a compliment, he's like, don't say that, man. Like, I'm just trying to give you a compliment. He's, bro, it's so not true what you're saying. You said really nice divrei Torah. Like at the shop said, it was a forgery. It was AI. But it came over nicely, like you presented it in a very nice way. So he can't accept the compliment. That's Aleph. And Beis, the bakoshas, is when you actually then ask the king for something. So there's tefillas, there's bakoshas, and all of those become accepted when you learn Torah. Through the Torah. It looks like Reb Nachman is explaining a mechanism. That everything that you want in this world, it is waiting for there to be something called Torah. If there's not a technology called Torah, then the tefillas and the bakoshas do not get accepted. So you need Torah. We're going to see in a moment why that is. What's the technology of Torah that allows your tefillas and your bakashas to be accepted? Which is what we all want. We want to be able to come in front of the king and show praise to the king. And then ask the king for the things that we think we'll need to be a partner with the king in building his kingdom. But we need Torah. She'anam mevakshim mispalim. And these are the things that we're being mevakesh, we're being mispalel. And not only that. When we learn Torah, we're going to see this is all hainu hach. It's all one inyan. Hachein ve'achashivas shel Yisrael. The chein and the chashivas of Klal Yisrael, nis'ala v'nisroimim, goes up and becomes exalted. B'fnei kol mi shetzrichim. For all those that need, whatever they need. Hein beruchani, whether it comes to us asking for things of spiritual content. Hein begashmi, whether it comes from us asking things of physical content. So there's something called Torah. Ibn Nachman is so, there's so much lumdis. So when you get big like Rosh Yeshivas learning Ibn Nachman, it becomes mamish gewaldig, because they're like darshan. It's so deep, Ibn Nachman. It's all lumdis. And he was a baki in everything. In Kol Torah Kula and Nach. We see many times how Nachman would bring psukim from Nach, which are hafla. Unbelievable. His mastery of every chelik in Torah. So here Ibn Nachman saying that there's Torah. And with Torah, it allows your tefillas and your bakashas to be accepted. And there's something called chen. When you learn Torah, this thing called chen and this thing called chashivas, which is so intrinsic to Klal Yisrael, starts coming out, starts revealing itself, starts becoming apparent. And when we do that, all the things that are needed by the one who's asking, whether it's in ruchnius or gashmius, they start to be accepted. Now what is chen? This whole Torah is about chen, by the way.
I mean, chen literally translates to grace, yeah? Like to grace something, to give in like a bountiful way.
So it involves giving, but when I say someone's charming or graceful, can you measure that with like an instrument, a scientific instrument? When you say that somebody has chen, they're becheint. I'll give you an example of chen. When you have a kid, Mitzvah Shem, everyone should have many wonderful, beautiful, healthy kinderlach.
Amen.
So you have a kid, and he's got a booger coming out of his nose or something, and he's got like chocolate on his face, and like he's not, you wouldn't exactly think like if I saw you, and I love you, Aliyah, but if you, not you, but let's forget the booger part, chocolate on your face, it wouldn't exactly be the most appealing thing. But all of a sudden you see this little kid with a booger coming out of his nose and chocolate on his face, and and he's your boy, and he mamish, he's tati, and you just run to him and you give him a hug and a kiss, and you might even get like chocolate, might even get a booger, Why would you do that? Who wants a booger on their face? And the answer is that there's so much chen. There's so much chen with this child that you are drawn to them. Chen means attraction. When someone has chen, you're attracted to them. And why is that? And somebody could be a very beautiful, physically looking person. Somebody could be not as beautiful physically. But the one who's very physically beautiful, let's say, has a witch of a personality. And they're not very attractive anymore. And the one who's pleasant but physically, but has such a deep beautiful soul. You're very attracted to that person. Very attracted to that person. Because chen means there's something there that I want. When somebody has a lot of chen, you want to give to them. When someone's becheint, you're attracted, you want to be around them, you want to give to them. You're interested in them. Chen creates interest. You want to be, you move towards them. That's chen. Chen is always associated with light, with something charming. When you say it's charming to meet you, what do I mean by that? It's charming. Maybe only the Brits speak like that. But okay, it's charming. Charming. That there's something there. There's something that you like. This interaction was not just a regular interaction. It elevated me in some way. That's chen. And when there's chen, there's a lot of interest. You wanna move towards that thing. It brightens your day. And you know when you see it. You know when you see it, because generally it draws you towards it. This is chen. We find different places in the Torah, people who had chen. Noach motza chen. One of the pshatim also in chen is that Noach, you see chen, motza chen. What's the letters of chen? A ches and a nun. We'll get a lot into the ches and the nun. This Torah is beyond deep. It'll take us a couple days to get through this Torah, not too many, but it's mamish. It's a short Torah. It's a page, both sides. Noach motza chen, that Noach found chen. The letters of chen is ches and nun. The letters of Noach is nun and ches. There's a reflection. When it says that Noach motza chen, when you have chen, the idea of chen is when someone has chen, they reflect the best part of you back to you. That's the opposite effect of chen. So when you're with somebody who has a lot of chen, you see in them you. You see the best part of you. They're reflecting back something very beautiful about. That's why you're so attracted. You want to be around this. It seems to motivate and bring something out. When someone doesn't have chen, you're dispelled from that situation. They're not reflecting anything back. So chen reflects something very, very high, something very, very positive and good. So when it says that Noach motza chen b'nei Hashem, that Hashem found this chen, it means that Noach was reflecting this goodness of Hashem back to Hashem. And the goodness of Hashem is that Noach did everything that Hashem said. He was embodying Ratzon Hashem between him and Hashem. Okay? Why was he not the first Yid? Because Noach didn't reach out beyond his relationship to Hashem. Noach should have reached out to really help the people of the generation. That's why there's a lot of comparisons between Noach and then the next week the parasha is Avram Avinu. Whereas Avram Avinu, mamish, reaches out and davens for the wicked people of Sodom. Avram's davening for people that are so far gone, because maybe there's some hope there that they can be saved. And Hashem says, you have the most embodiment of the mission of why I made this world, and therefore, Avram Avinu, you're going to be the first Yid. But Noach had a chen, the beginning of an absolute reflection of Hashem saying, I see in you that all you want to do is my ratzon. You're reflecting something from a very, very high place. So that's chen. Chen is something you know when you see it. And the chen and the chashivas is something more pashut. You see chashivas. He's got a good job. He's a melech. Chashivas is more identifiable, more measurable. Chen is something, a person can be a lowly person seemingly, but you just sense there's something exalted about them.
Is there a sphera that Chen is very connected to?
Tiferes. We'll see that Chen is going to be coming from really Chachma and Malchus. But it shows up in Tiferes. Chen is really Chachma and Malchus, as we'll get to. Chen is a combination of Chachma and Malchus, as we'll see.
And you've also talked before about how it's connected to Hanukkah.
Oh, Hanukkah is Kulei Chen. It's Kulei Chen.
And then also over Hanukkah, someone brought up, I think I mentioned the connection. And they said, oh, what's your name? I said, Shmuel. Yeah, they go, oh, yeah, like the son of Chana. Like Chana is Chen. Hanukkah.
Chen, when you get into the sugi of Chen, things start opening up. Chen is what it's all about. And Reb Nachman started this whole Torah is about Chen. Which means all of Likutei Moharan is about Chen. And when someone has Chen, the simple shot is you want to give to them. If you don't have Chen, why would Hashem answer your tefillahs? When someone is bechaint, you want to give to them. You feel like, I want to help them. Tzaddikim have tremendous Chen. You'll do anything to, pour Itchy Meyer's, Rebbe juice. The Rebbe juice. Mamish. And when you see the Yid pouring the Rebbe juice, you're like, because the Rebbe has so much chen, you just want, I want to give. I want to do anything to be around the top. They're so filled with chen. Someone without chen, you're not necessarily thinking about, can I pour your juice? Someone is chen, though, you want to be there, to help them out. So Hashem is saying, and Rav Nachman's explaining this, he's bringing this down to us, that when a person has Torah allows all of your tefillahs to be answered, because you know what Torah does? We're going to see, Torah gives you chen. When a person really learns Torah, they get filled with chen. And we'll see when they're learning Torah with the right kavanas, the Torah brings gevaldik chen. And therefore, when you have chen, Hashem says, I want to give you whatever you want. Like a child. I want to give you. I want to give you. Usually there's a tremendous chen. What relationship? An uncle to their niece or nephew. The niece and nephew usually has so much chen in the eyes of an uncle, because it's like your brother's kid. You love this kid. He's and you just want to spoil it. He for you is just like this image of chen. You rile him up and then you leave. Let the parents put them to bed. You just love, there's a chen, there's like a shining chen. Also grandparents to grandchildren. There's a chen, my wife's parents were just here and it was gevaldik. It's kuloi chen. The whole relationship is belig, very little gevura, let's say it like that. Because the whole identification with grandparents or with this should be this tremendous love and bracha. And the parents have to do more of the disciplining. And therefore, the grandparents or the uncles especially, every interaction is just, I want to just give you and just mamish give you. Because they have this chen, it's mamish, this shining chen. Now you might say, why do we need to learn the Torah? Seemingly, Rabbi Nachman is saying this because our bakoshes and our tefillahs are not being answered. We're not exactly bechaint. You know why? Ki akshav, because now in Galus, which we're in, Hashem should mamish end the Galus right now, the final Galus. Because sadly, we're not doing our job as the Jewish people. We're not learning Torah in the way that we're supposed to. We're not educating humanity in the way that we're supposed to. We're not sharing forth the wisdom of Torah. And we're not deeply involved in the wisdom of Torah the way we should be. What happens because of that? The deep, deep beauty of chen which we're going to see is attached to the sphere of Chokhmah, the deep, deep beauty of Chen and true Chashivas, which really is the essence of Klal Yisrael, is to have this beauty in this Chen, which is our mission to be what's called Or LaGoyim, that we're here to teach humanity, to be a light to humanity. And if we're not learning Torah properly, and we're not involved in Torah and mitzvahs as the way that we should, so then what happens to our Chen and our Chashivas? Nofal. It falls. And you know, when something falls, it doesn't disappear. This is a klal in Kabbalah. When something falls, it doesn't go away.
Amen.
Something falls, it doesn't disappear. It gets taken by the dark side. It's taken in places where it shouldn't go. So if a person, God forbid, does an Avera, it wasn't, he just, he missed the opportunity for a mitzvah. All that energy that could have been used to a mitzvah now went somewhere else. It's being utilized by something else. So when a Yid, Chas v'Shalom, loses his Chen, he lost this beauty, this charm, which really the most beautiful thing in the world is that humanity is going to see the beauty of Torah. We're going to see the beauty of Hashem's Torah so beyond, so gorgeous. When the Beis HaMikdash stood, the Gemara says it was the most beautiful sight in the entire world. And the nations of the world came from the four corners of the globe to come and see the Beis HaMikdash. It was so beautiful. The Gemara also says that Lashon HaKodesh, Hebrew when spoken properly, not modern Hebrew, real Hebrew, the deep, deep secret of Hebrew when spoken beautiful is the most beautiful language. It's beautiful. Yerushalayim in its beauty is the most beautiful place. The Beis HaMikdash, everything is beautiful, has so much chen. And when humanity would come here, when the Beis HaMikdash was shining with chen, humanity came and they brought korbanos and they were involved in the or and the chen, the beauty of Yerushalayim. But that fell. Why did the Beis HaMikdash get destroyed? Not because Titus came in. We know, so someone had to come in. Because we did Averas. And specifically, that we had baseless hatred. And we spoke Lashon Hara. Think about that for a second. If we speak evil, there's no people in the entire world that have the amount of positive speech laws as we do. There's First Amendment rights, which a lot of them are becoming put into question nowadays in the United States. Everything is becoming censored. We also have laws, but our laws are absolutely about making sure that you see the good in other people. That's what our laws of Lashon Hara are all about. Do not speak evil speech. Even if you speak positive speech, be careful that you speak it in a way that doesn't make people come to think negatively. Meaning, you say, that guy, he is such a good basketball player. But you say it in front of somebody who you're talking about him, he's a nobody. What, you think you can make a jump shot? I school him all the time. So you're going to, by you saying a nice thing, seemingly, you have to be aware of the set and setting. Is this going to make somebody else hate on that guy? That's a tremendous sensitivity of speech. That for the Jew, we want to teach humanity to use speech in positive, constructive ways. No culture in the world has such details of how to speak in order to build with your speech. The Torah is filled with that. Imagine all of Twitter for a second, or X, formerly known as. Imagine all of it being positive, building humanity, love, compassion,
Be awesome.
Goodness, seeing the good in others, building for the future and destiny of humanity towards closest to God. Everything was that. If they were following the laws of Lashon Hara, that the Torah prescribes, everything would be that. Could you imagine?
No.
When Mashiach comes, it will be that way. You'd see.
Excited.
I was speaking to some of the Chevra at Triple Well, a very, very chashuva company, from some of the alumni in Eshet Torah. Anybody out there in the world who needs to have anything in their online universe systemized, Triple Whale. So I was speaking to some of the Chevra there, like some of the executive team. They actually were here in Yerushalayim. And one of them was saying, like, Twitter it like pains him. He was like speaking to me like doing tshuva a little bit. Like, I'm in pain that there's so much hate that's going on. Especially when it's in a cyber thing, because you can like hide behind a tweet. You're not having face-to-face discussions. He was saying, I think it's just so painful. So the laws of Lashon Hara will clean up all of that. So be careful on these things, because it's just so much Lashon Hara rechilas.
So why does Hashem make it a natural instinct?
In order to overcome it. We have free will. Free will makes you like God because you're choosing your perfection. That's really your question, is why is there anything negative in the world? And the answer is in order to overcome it, that you have a godly soul and an animal soul, and you enliven your godly soul and overcome the animal soul. So when a person, God forbid, does bad things, like we said, it doesn't disappear, that energy. It goes and it brings, God forbid, destruction. And therefore the Beis HaMikdash is being destroyed because we're saying Lashon Hara. But there's impacts to your actions. You can't think like, oh, I could do something in the privacy of my own home. It affects people. Not only in a practical, rational sense. If somebody is typing negative things against somebody else, that will affect them in big ways. You know what they say in the playground growing up? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's the biggest lie in the world. That's so not true. It's so not true. A stick and a stone, okay, you get a bruise and then you get better generally. Words, they cut so deep. Especially when we understand that Hashem is creating the world through words, through speech. Speech is so powerful. So, God forbid if something happens. This is what Reb Nachman's going into now. Through our averas, Hashem Yirachim. And that's why we have tzaddikim. They're always trying to pull us away from averas. Tzaddikim are saying, like, stop with the averas already. You know, what do you need the averas? What do you need the cheeseburger? You know, stay away from the averas. What do you need to gossip and say that evil speech against that? Don't say the evil speech. Pull away, not only for the fact that it hurts them. The Rambam will tell you, it hurts you. It lowers your dignity. That you're somebody that says negative, evil speech about somebody, it's a disgrace to you. Think about that. It's a disgrace to your godly image that you're putting other people down. Of course it's horrible to them, but it puts you down. It lowers you. It lowers your dignity. So God forbid when there's averas, and therefore mipnei avonasein harabim, the chayin, the chashivas amiti of Yisrael nafal fell. And therefore, do you know where the chayin went? Ki achshav ikra chashivas v'achayin hu eitzlam. Now the chayin and the chashivas, you know where you find it? What has interest in people's eyes? What draws your attention? Deep beauty of wisdom of Torah, deep beauty of intimacy, deep connections. Is that what draws you? No. What draws you? Movie stars, athletes. Why are you so interested? Why do you spend so much time looking at the charm, the grace? I'm sure you would never want to make a shidduch. with some convicted felon who's still involved with putting balls in nets or something. No, what? You want to make a shidduch? You want to marry into that family? You really interested in that life of that person? There's a deep beauty there? Or they've grabbed some of this beauty, they've grabbed some of this chen, and you're very allured. You're very drawn after a movie. Which, by the way, think about it. After the movie, I don't know if people even go to the movie theaters anymore. Are they like out of business? Or people still go? Chetzi, chetzi? Still go because it's the experience. But I remember back, in a previous reincarnation, that going to a movie theater, at the end of the movie, there's this feeling of the lights go on, and it's so anticlimactic, oh, it's depressing. Everything. Minus the beard, but like sour patch, sugar on you, sticky. Ever your foot's sticky from someone spilled their Coke and like that sticky on the rubbery floors of the movie theater, sticky. It's popcorn, that was so. I'm I'm back to the real world. Then the real rebel guys. Then you just go to the next movie. You just sneak into the next line while you're still in the movie theater. Because they still need another hit of the movie. Why are you interested in that? It's crazy. There's so much interest in it. But it doesn't give you anything. Yes,
do you think any of the materialistic world is actually helpful in education?
If you mean by materialistic world, does a person need to have a job, and need to have a house, and need to have a car per se, then yes, you can use all those things for mitzvahs. But the allure, look at a person's screen time when there's 8 hours of Netflix, or 5 hours of ESPN, or even an hour of tennis highlights. I'm not picking on tennis, it's just the first thing that came to my mind. Because I knew a guy that had many hours of tennis highlights. So why is this such an allure? Why am I so drawn to this? Why am I so attracted to it? Why am I so into following movie stars in their life? And what's the shaykhs? You want to make friends? They ever respond to your DMs? What's the inyan? So Reb Nachman's saying that when the chen leaves those who are learning Torah because we're not doing it properly, the chen goes to other places. And you see it. Look at the attraction. Sadly, there's the people are attracted to things that are not so good. And they're not giving them. They're just giving this temporary sense of chen, of attraction. But deep chen is something it's missing from the right places. So we want to bring back the chen. The chen, the beauty. Tzaddikim have chen. When you're around tzaddikim, you see this amazing chen. So the chen went eitzlam. Aval al yedei ha-Torah, but through learning Torah, this alei chen v'chashiva shel Yisrael, that when we learn Torah, the chen and the chashivas of Yisrael goes up. And then Reb Nachman now brings a raya, a proof. Ki ha-Torah, because the Torah is nikreis. The Torah is called ayelis ahavim. King Solomon, the wisest of all men, said, a beloved doe, v'yalas chen. Yalas chen, Yael. A Yael is a gazelle, a ibex, an ibex, but that's the modern word for it. A Yalas chen is this beautiful animal. It's graceful, beautiful animal. Yalas chen. So here King Solomon is speaking about beautiful, beloved animal, but he's using it as an analogy to talk about Torah. So he says the Torah is this graceful animal, this gorgeous, beautiful animal, this yalas chen. And the Gemara in Eruvin says, read the words, yalas chen, shema chen aloim deya, that it brings up chen on the ones who learn it. Ya'el means to bring up, to go up. Yalas chen, it brings up, it's malach chen aloim deya. The Torah brings up and gives chen to the ones who are learning it. The ali dezeh, and through this, through learning Torah, niskablen kol tefillus v'habakoshos, like we said. Because when the Torah, which is yalas chen, gives you chen, and we said that somebody wants to give somebody something who has chen, so when you learn Torah, you become more becheint, you become more beautiful, and Hashem then is forthcoming of giving all those tefillahs and those bakoshos. But now, sadly, since the chen and the chashivas, because we're not learning Torah properly, the chen and the chashivas has gone to other places. And we know that we have a klal, that zeh le'umaseh asalakim, that this one opposite to that one did Hashem do. Meaning anything on the side of holiness has something on the side of not holiness. And something that could be used for something very holy, if it's not, it could be very, very bad. For example, wine, alcohol. Wine is the substance that shows up in the holiest moments of a Jew's life. The second that he's getting married under the chuppah, there's a cup of wine. At a bris, there's a cup of wine. At a pinyan haben, there's a cup of wine. Kiddush, Purim. Wine is a very, very special thing. But if alcohol used improperly is it's horrible. Debauchery is gross. What could happen in nightclubs and people drinking is disgusting. Relations of husband and wife is the deepest, intimate, holy act. The Torah feels that this is the holiest part of a relationship. But on the other side, heaven forbid, that very same act of rape is something that brings two human beings so far apart. Hashem Yirachim, should never happen. Is the most disgusting thing that rips people apart. It's the same thing. So everything has these zeh le'umazeh. So here we have this chen that could be the most beautiful, beautiful thing in the world. The chen of Torah, the chen of the Beis HaMikdash, the chen of Yerushalayim, the chen of really the message of the Jewish people to the world, which now the world is seemingly, they're not seeing it. And all the discussion about Klal Yisrael now in the world, we're not giving them the real picture, the real story, which is the chen of Torah, the beauty of Torah. We have to give that message. That's always been the Jews' message to humanity. It's to show humanity the beauty of chen, the beauty of Torah. And therefore that chen is not being seen by the world. And therefore, what's the opposite? Sheker achen, vehevel ayofi. The falseness of chen. The falseness of chen. The billboards. Huge billboards with people not wearing any clothing on them. And that's making attraction. And that's what the world thinks is chen, is wow, is charming. That's bad. That means that chen, that beauty is being stolen. And we need to reclaim that. And this whole Torah we're going to see is about reclaiming chen, bringing back our charm, bringing back our grace. Let's go one more little nakuda. Reb Nachman's about to now say probably the most famous thing that people know about Breslov, which is a gewaldige inyan. Okay, and this is going to catapult us into the whole next inyan. Ki isha Yisraeli. You know what the mission for the Jewish people is? And the mission that we're here to share with the world? Ki isha Yisraeli. You know what we have to do? Tzarech tamid listakel b'aseichel shel kol davar. Our mission is to always look for what's called the seichel. The seichel means the point of godliness in every single thing in the world, including sticks and stones, which we're going to talk about more in our Tanya Chabura, because that's some interesting, slightly controversial stuff going on in Tanya. Yes, in the sticks and stones, godly sparks, and the message that Hashem is trying to teach you in everything. Everything. Reb Nachman used the language, the seichel shebachol davar, the spark of God in everything. Everything. That everything is here to teach you something, is calling to you. Everything. But there's a message, there's a meaning, the seichel shebachol davar. There's an energizing force that's creating that thing. The God point in everything. The God point in this cup of coffee. The God point in the sefer, in the shtender, in the water bottle, in the shar hat. We love the shar. God point in everything. And to zone in on that God point, which is the point of where it's being formed from. The seichel shebachol davar. Because every single thing has an external and an internal. Everything in this world has a body and a soul. Looking at you for the external part would be looking at, your face, your beard, your clothing. But when I talk to you, I'm not talking to your beard or your face, your clothing. I'm talking to the soul inside. So everything also in the world has an external, has the cup, but then has the God point that's enlivening it. Where it's coming from. It's a very amazing thing to start walking around thinking like this. What is the God point inside of it that's giving it life? Everything. What's the message that God is trying to tell me through this thing? That's the God point in every single thing. And therefore, don't look just to the cup of coffee. Don't look to the cup. What's a coffee? What are the letters of coffee? What's the meaning? Why did Hashem make coffee? Go into the essence of the thing. How can this help me? How can this help me in my life? Now, is God speaking to me through this? And the answer is yes. He's not speaking like a voice from the sky. But he's communicating a message. That's called the seichel shebachol davar. Ulekasher atzmai ela chachma. We're getting now into chachma. We're going to spend some time in the world of chachma, the sphere of chachma. Ve'aseichel sheyesh bechol davar. And you want to connect to the seichel, the chachma, which is in every single thing. To look deep into the thing. To connect, to think, Hashem, what is the message of this? What's the message of my chavrus? Let me find the spark inside of him. Let me connect to him, to my wife, to my kids, to my Rebbe, to my Talmidim, to connect to the seichel shebachol davar. What's the meaning behind this? To my job, to my employees, to the seichel shebachol davar. And I have to connect, be makasher. To be makasher yourself means I want to deeply connect to Hashem. What are you teaching me through this? It's like be'in in every single thing that you're doing. Like, what's the message? There's a famous meister of Moshe Feinstein that one time they would order milk. Back in the olden days, when they used to have a milkman deliver the milk in these milk bottles, and he would deliver to the front door. Probably saw it from a movie somewhere. And they would, the next day, you'd put the bottles outside, you'd pick up the old bottles and bring back the new bottles. And Rav Moshe, the greatest Torah scholar in America, the last century, so Rav Moshe, the Rebbitzin, would boil the milk, and he would have hot milk every single day. Every day. And one day, the Rebbitzin came in, Rav Moshe was learning, and the Rebbitzin said, the milk spilled. It boiled over. So Rav Moshe taught himself. So the Maisa goes like this. Appreciate this. It says that Rav Moshe went and put on his hat and jacket, which also teaches you when Rav Moshe was in his house, he was not wearing a hat and jacket. But he put on his hat and jacket, which means this shaila required a hat and jacket. He felt. He put on his hat and jacket and he sat on his chair and he thought, every single day that Rebbetzin boils the milk, it doesn't boil over. Today it boiled over. Every single day that Rebbetzin boils the milk, it doesn't boil over. Every single day. But today it boiled over. What's the pshat? Hashem, what are you teaching me? Every day it doesn't boil over. What's the message of that? What's the message? You just have some nunnakan say, the message is, watch the milk. That's not the message. That's not the message. Every single day it doesn't boil over. And the Rebbe does pretty good watching it, as you see. Is it never boils over. But today it did. What are you trying to do? And then all of a sudden the Rebbe said, do we pay the milkman today? And the Rebbe said, today, mamish, it was the one day we didn't pay him. Baruch Hashem. The Seichel Shebachol Davar requires you to look into what was the God spark in the milk sport, bubbling over. And every single thing that's happening, you have to sit down and think, what's your milk boiling over Seichel Shebachol Davar? What's the message? There's something. And connect to that message. We're going to learn more about what this means, the Seichel Shebachol Davar, yes?
We won't be able to do that for everything. We won't always be able to figure out why something happened by trying to look into it.
Rav Nachman's telling you, to the best that you can, you have to seek out the Seichel Shebachol Davar. On a simple level, the Seichel Shebachol Davar is that Hashem is enlivening it. And the original point of this item is not the paper, is not the tree, is the God point that's creating a tree. Yeah.
Is there a way for there to be like multiple points, depending on the person and how they want to connect to it and how they want to...
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's going to be multiple sparks, but all those sparks will essentially take you to the essential spark, which is it's called the Chachma. Now, Chachma is like a seed. We'll talk more about Chachma. Everything is included in Chachma. So even though a tree has many parts, a seed, when you plant the acorn, it turns into a giant oak tree. It's very beautiful. It has many, many elements to the tree. But inside the seed, it's all undifferentiated, and the helix of the DNA is all squished together. So all of it's there. All the different points are there. The leaves and the bark and the tree and the sap, it's all in the seed. But to be able to get to the kernel, the seichel, it means you see everything at once. You see it all as like one bolt of lightning, which we'll talk about. You see it as one essence. The seichel shebachol davar. You can see everything like that. Like, what's the whole story of everything in every single thing? You're zoning into the seichel shebachol davar.
May we all be able to.
Amen. Which is the chachma. As we're going to learn more about what chachma is. And this is one of our missions, Rav Nachman saying. Kedei sheyor loy haseichel sheyesh b'chol davar. And what are you going to do? Liskarev la'Hashem yisboach al yidei oiseh davar. And come very close to Hashem through this thing. It's all about finding the God point in everything. In all the people you meet. Avram Avinu was finding the Seichel Shebachol Davar in Anshe Sodom. Even evil people. He saw that even those that were overcome with evil were to do kindness in Sodom was punishable by death. To invite somebody into your house to have a bowl of soup was punishable by death. He said, I could still find something redeeming about them. He's looking for the Seichel Shebachol Davar. There's a God point. You have to look for the God point, the Seichel Shebachol Davar, the Chachma. So we saw today that through the Chayin and the Chashivas, all of our tefillahs are in this Kabul, and the Chayin and the Chashivas comes from learning Torah. And sadly, because of our Aveiras, We lost the Chaim L'Chashivas, but the Chaim L'Chashivas went to other places. That's why generally who's Chashiv and who has the Chaim? Challenging places that are not usually speaking about Hashem. It would be amazing if you had the leaders like a G7 summit or G20, and the opening address is, we want to thank God for this world. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything according to the will of the Creator of heaven and earth.
A lot of people, when they win sports, they say first thing, I want to thank God.
So, I wonder if they continue to live their life that way. Or they ask themselves, so what does that mean? Is it just a publicity thing? Or if I were to interview the guy, a day later. So I noticed that after you won the, Super Bowl, usually they think they're Ma. Thank you, Ma. I love you, Ma. Which is very beautiful. I noticed that you were talking about God. Can we talk about that now? Now that you're more sober, now like all the adrenaline's, weared off, and all the cameras aren't on you, and you want to sit down with the rabbi, let's talk about it. Can you explain to me what you mean by I want to thank God? Do you want to implement things in your life that would develop that relationship with God? So I wonder if they would continue the conversation. And if they say yes, I say, okay, come Desha Torah. We'll talk about, we'll go through the discovery seminar with you. We'll talk about authenticity of Torah. We'll talk about your unique personal relationship with God. Let's talk about that. The fact that they're saying that means there's a spark, though. They're seeing some seichel shebachol davar. They're seeing a spark at that moment, which is a very good sign. It's a very good sign. Many tzaddikim pointed out that the American dollar had a lot of success for many years because they put in God we trust. Do you put God's name on your money? It's a good sign. It's a good sign. There's other funny things going on dollar bills. But at least they had God there. At least they had God. And that created a lot of bounty for many years. The world is changing now. And we should be zoicha mamish. We should be zoicha to look deep, deep, deep for the God message in everything, the seichel shebachol davar, and to bring back the chaim, the chashivas, to shine that beauty, and ultimate beauty that we'll see when Mashiach comes and the Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt, and all of humanity comes and celebrates with the beauty of Yerushalayim in its full rebuilt state. We should be zocheh to this. Amen ve'amen. Amen. Oyein shum yeyo, shein shum yeyo, shein shum yeyo, la'olam la. Rabbeinu shoam ve'kol gadol, ein shum yeyo, ein shum yeyo, ein shum yeyo, la'olam la. Oy mitzvah gedolah, biyod besimcha, biyod besimcha, besimcha tamim, mitzvah gedolah.